When you look at some of the currency fluctuation and some of the reflation trade, what does that actually mean for dollar going forward?
So I think we've already seen a bit of a pullback from the extreme dollar bearishness at the tail end of last year. As far as I'm concerned, the dollar outlook for 2021 is still very much a cyclical story. And I think a lot of people who are expecting this across the board dollar sell-off weren't factoring in the strength of the US recovery and how much global demand is actually being driven by the US at the moment. And that's not to say the dollar is going to rally against everything across the board, but certainly I'd have quite a constructive outlook on the dollar, particularly against certain currencies and coming off of the very weak positioning that we saw at the start of the year.
Will that be a concern for the administration?
I think a lot of people focus on what central banks, administrations, governments can do or not do for a currency. But the reality is that a lot of what the currency will do is determined by, nominal interest rates, rate expectations, the fiscal stimulus that's going to be pumped in. And I certainly don't think that the new Biden administration would prioritize what the outlook for the dollar is going to be over and above any other policy implication or policy tool. So yes, maybe some people will complain about the strength of the dollar, the same way the ECB has been complaining about the strength of the euro. But the reality is that policy is not going to radically change just to set the level of the currency. That's not what G10 countries do.
What is the most interesting yield dynamic right now for you?
I think we've seen a little bit of it play out already, where the dollar actually bounced against pretty much everything across the board on the back of yields rising in the US. That's actually beginning to pull back a little bit. And I think certainly the speed of the move in the last few weeks maybe caught a few people off guard. Going forward, I think it becomes a little harder to trade. We're looking for some tactical reversals, for example, in sterling, and just selectively looking for some underperformance there, rather than just across the board long dollar or short dollar.